Hello, everybody. Welcome into the NBA Front Office Show. Happy Monday. We've got March Madness coming up this week. Tons of basketball on, a lot of stuff to talk about. Joining me, as always, is Keith Smith. I'm Trevor Lane. Keith, fun week ahead for us. For anybody who loves watching basketball as much as we do, this is a great time of the year.
Yeah, without a doubt. We got the NCAA tournament kicking off this week, Tuesday and Wednesday, the first four games, but the real bulk of the tournament starts Thursday and Friday. For anyone who follows me on Twitter, you may have already seen this. If you haven't, you can go find it. My NBA fans NCAA tournament viewing guide is out. So it's essentially what I do is over years as players kind of come on the draft, like kind of any chance of them being drafted, I put them all into my database. And then each year at the NCAA tournament, I pull all of the players out. I put them all into one Word document, all the guys who made it. And what it's going to do is just tell you, hey, these are the guys who have been considered a draft prospects at some point in the last 4 to 5 years. Some of them have kind of fallen off the radar a little bit and they're not as prominent, but you can go there, you can get who they play for, what their jersey number is, what time they play, who they're going to play, and what TV channel. And hopefully that'll help folks with their NBA prospect scouting a little bit to find these players a little bit easier throughout the course of the tournament.
Yeah, and this is something that that is, I mean, super, super valuable when you put that out there, especially for it's really geared towards people like me, Keith, which is why I'm definitely going to be using this. Who I don't pay a lot of attention to college hoops during the bulk of the year. I'm definitely that more casual viewer that jumps in around this time of the year and then pays attention to it. So this is the kind of thing, and we'll put the link to it in the description down below. This is the kind of thing that can be super, super useful, especially for those of us who are watching specifically, not just because we love watching basketball, but also because we want to get a sneak peek at who's going to be coming to the NBA. Here's the tweet. It took me a moment to find it there, but there it is. The NBA's fan to the NCAA tournament viewing guide. Great stuff as always, Keith. And I thank you for putting that because I am going to be using this for sure.
Yeah, and it guys, there's no detail in here as far as like scouting thoughts and rankings. The only ranking that's there is where these guys rank on ESPN's top 100, but it does give you everything else that you could want. It's all there, so you can go find these guys and start making opinions yourself. In addition, on each morning, so Thursday and Friday mornings, and then on the weekends, if I can, I will do the on the basketball bulletin. I'll also do a early window, late afternoon window, early evening window, late evening window breakdown of these are the guys you want to try to check out if you can catch them. And that'll be a little bit more of a distilled version of this, where it is a lot more of these guys we definitely think have a good chance of being drafted either this year or maybe next year if they choose to stay in school for another year or so. But yeah, a lot of fun. This is one of my favorite times of year is the NCAA tournament. I absolutely love it.
Speaking of the basketball bulletin, you guys can see here, Bryce Simon has his latest scouting report is up. Some great stuff that you can find there. Also drop the link to that in the description down below. Great way to support us. Great way to get some extra basketball content. The basketball bulletin, which is our Substack. We make it as accessible as we can to everybody. Made it literally as cheap as Substack will allow us to make it. So you guys can check that out. All kinds of great stuff over there on the basketball bulletin as well. And of course, Keith has more on the way. I've got a few little things that I'm finishing up right now too. So a lot of stuff coming over there too to the basketball bulletin. Again, check out that link in the description down below.
I'm really excited for this scouting report too, because this is one of
Mm-hmm.
my guys I really liked coming into this draft process, Matas Buzelis. So we'll see, what Bryce had to think about him. I was finishing up some other work this morning, so I've not had a chance to read it. But if you are a subscriber and you have read Bryce's stuff in the past, you'll see these are his raw scouting notes, and it's really good stuff because you're not getting bogged down in details and stats and all that. He's kind of telling you, hey, this is what a guy looks like, really pretty high level, and then more detailed stuff will come from Bryce and various outlets where he contributes. So you'll get that down the line. But yeah, really good stuff.
Yeah, great stuff as always from Bryce. So make sure you guys check that out. Again, I'll put the link in the description down below. All right, Keith, let's get into it for today. First and foremost, the Clippers not happy after their loss last night to the Atlanta Hawks. The Hawks shot the hell out of the ball, better than 50% from deep. We've talked about that, how that can oftentimes result in a win in today's NBA when you're able to shoot high volume and high percentage from three. The Hawks did a great job shooting the ball, and the Clippers just couldn't really keep pace with them. And Paul George afterwards lamented that he feels like the Clippers don't really have an identity right now. He also said that that it does appear that they feel like they can just flip a switch, and he said that's not good. How do you feel about where this Clippers team is at currently, Keith?
Yeah, it's not good. They are in a rough place, and they've gone through it a little bit injury wise. James Harden missed some time. Russell Westbrook is obviously out. They had turned to Bones Highland, who had been not playing at all for the vast majority of the season, to initially being the backup in place of Westbrook, but then starting games quite a bit while Harden was out. So that part has obviously got them thrown off a little bit. Norman Powell is also hurt right now. He got hurt 2 games ago, so he missed last night's game. Kawhi and PG look pretty good, but the rest of the team very spotty, very hit or miss right now. I'm sure Harden will be back. You can see he was kind of working his way back in there last night, but I'm glad you pulled up the standings. They're done as a top 3 seed. 4 games to make up with this few games left.
That's it.
Not going to happen, barring something major here. So that's probably not going to be a thing. Now they got to worry about, are the Pelicans going to catch them? They're a game behind. I don't think they need to worry about the Kings or falling into the play-in tournament. I think they're fine in those respects. But yeah, can the Pelicans catch them? And Pelicans
are playing great.
Flip. So they're having the home court advantage there. So we'll see. But yeah, I mean the Clippers are just right now. They're just kind of okay. Like they're not doing anything special, and they had been playing really good basketball about a month or so ago. So just a weird spot for them to be in.
Yeah, they were playing like one of the best teams in the NBA, but obviously that's dropped off, and some of that certainly is injury related. These guys, they're going to come back. They're going to get Russell Westbrook back. They'll get their guys back and playing again. But what should the identity of this team be? Like, what if everything were to work out perfectly? What should if Paul George is saying we don't really have an identity? What should it be? Should they be a lockdown defense? Should they be a high octane offense? Should they be an inside team, an outside team? What should be the path for this squad?
Yeah, I think they should be a high-end defensive team that can kill you in the half court. They're never going to be a get up and down the floor team. The personnel isn't there for that. That's not how Harden wants to play, not how Kawhi or PG want to play. Like those guys are get it in the half court. And they should be able to beat teams with execution in the half court with those 3 guys. And my guess is what we'll see in the playoffs is when they were playing at their best was they were a very high pick and roll and high isolation offense. They will go to that over and over and over again. And what they'll do is they'll work and try to pick to find the best matchup for them. And if they can find a mismatch, which when you have Kawhi, PG, and Harden, shouldn't be too hard to find a mismatch. I bet you'll relentlessly see them go at that. Like, for example, if they ended up playing, let's say, the Pelicans in the first round of the playoffs, they're going to go at CJ McCollum until the Pelicans have to do something about it. Like they're
going to switch hunt like crazy.
Yeah, they're going to go at him. They're going to go at Jonas Valanciunas. You might have to see the Pelicans go to some more of those small lineups, which they've had quite a bit of success with. The lineups with Zion at the 5 for that team are really fun because you get a lot of speed and quickness, and he's gone to a new level defensively, so that would be interesting. But yeah, to bring it back around to the Clippers, there's no reason they shouldn't be a really good defensive team. They've got the personnel for that, and then they should be a team that should be a more efficient offense. They're just going through it right now.
You know, I'm looking here. The Clippers right now have the 3rd best 3-point percentage on the season in the NBA. They're middle of the pack, though, in terms of volume, perhaps a higher volume attack from 3. But this is a team that can really burn you from the outside. They've got Zubats in the middle. They've got some guys that can get into the paint. Of course, Kawhi, James Harden, they're always a threat to draw fouls when they get into the paint. So that's what I really see this team being, that kind of inside outside team that can take you off the dribble. If you're going to overcommit to the 3-point line, they can burn you from deep. There is going to be some variance that's naturally built in when you do shoot a high percentage from three on higher volume. So if they do increase that volume from three, you can have a good shooting game, a bad shooting game, as we just saw last night against the Hawks. But ultimately, this Clippers team, they're going to have grit in order to get to where they want to go. They're going to have to have a way to overcome these injuries and not succumb to them. This Pelicans side, I wish the Clippers and Pelicans played one more time this season. Unfortunately, they don't. But this is going to be a real, I think, battle down the stretch to see which of these teams can get in front and stay in front down the final, 13, 14, 15 games or whatever that they each have left. So this is going to be something to keep an eye on. And the Pelicans have been playing great, great basketball. They're coming on strong. I'm not sure that the Clippers don't actually get caught here. I think they might.
Yeah, I think a lot of it's going to depend on, do the Clippers really want to run through the tape? Or are they going to say, fine, if we drop back to 5, it is what it is. We need to be healthy when we get there. Knock on wood right now. Guys are pretty healthy, right? Kawhi's healthy. James Harden's gotten back. Paul George is back. So let's go. I think Kawhi just came out like this is the most games he's played since I think the title season in Toronto. So he's really made it through, and he's only got a handful more games to play before he's eligible for all the postseason awards. And I think there's a good chance you're going to see him on a lot of all NBA ballots, maybe even some MVP ballots. He's not going to win MVP, but somewhere in the 4th, 5th spot. But if they keep falling in the standings, maybe that'll fall by the wayside as well.
Keith, one of the things that I want to talk about is, and when we talk about how much fun basketball is, I didn't put it on our show notes for today. The Kyrie game winner last night.
Oh my God. What a play.
a left hand like Magic Johnson Jr. hook from the free throw line. Get out of here with that. Holy moly, where did that come from? And just that's not like, I would have to imagine that's not a shot that he practices all the time. That's just creativity on the fly of this is what I have to do in order to get this shot off, and to drain that. Unbelievable stuff from Kyrie.
Yeah. I with Kyrie, I say this all the time. I wish there wasn't all the other stuff, because if you took all that out, he's one of the most enjoyable players ever that I've watched. His ability to finish at his size is unbelievable. He's got the great handle, and then he's just one of the best improvisers around in the league. That entire game was phenomenal. That was like a playoff game. Possessions really mattered. Both teams were getting after it. There were some good defensive plays, some really incredible shot making down the stretch. You had Jokic and Murray making plays, Luka Doncic, and then, Kyrie. And it was funny because Kyrie said, I was going to my left, thought I was maybe going to pull up, but he was on it. So then I went, and then he said after, he's like, I forget how he put it exactly, but he was like, I was a little further out than I thought I was, because he was like right at the top of the key.
Yeah.
When he kind of just threw. Yeah, it was like this running lefty hook floater thing, and it went in. It was just, what a great shot. What a great game. I mean, just highly enjoyable. And I said it, give me a playoff series between the Nuggets and the Mavericks in the first round. Hell yeah, I'm all for that.
That would be fun. Like Nuggets, Mavs, round 1 would be one of the most fun round 1 matchups that I think we could get. What are some other ones that you're really hoping to see? And I know you're hoping not to see Miami, Boston in round 1. But what are some other ones that would be fun to see in round 1?
I kind of want the Thunder to get either the Warriors or the Lakers, just to have the young upstart team against the veterans trying to make one more run in them. Like, I thought that would be a lot of fun in the West. In the East, I think Pacers Knicks could be really fun, because it's just two completely divergent styles of play, where the Pacers want to race up and down the floor and the Knicks very much don't want to play that way. I think even Pacers Bucks, because they've given the Bucks problems this year. That could be a really fun series. So the more I look at it, the more excited I'm getting for the playoffs, because the play-in tournament, I think, is going to be great on both sides. And then I think we're going to get into the playoffs, and it is going to be like some absolutely unbelievable matchup. So I'm really excited.
Yeah, I'm looking at I think Clippers Pelicans could be an absolute blast. That could be a lot of fun. That could be a really exciting one. And then I've got my eye on Minnesota and Sacramento. If those two
Sure.
wind up matched up, that could be a really interesting clash of Sacramento's offense against Minnesota's defense, which could be could create some fireworks. So I'd be excited to see that one. And then on top of that, you've got some incredible players that are involved with Sabonis and Fox and Ant Edwards. And is Karl Anthony Towns back in action or not? And can Rudy Gobert hold it down if he's not? And all kinds of great things that we can look forward to in that matchup.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, yeah, the playoffs are, this is why we do this all year round. I know it feels like I'm cheapening the regular season, which I also love, but it's like when we're this close, we're less than a month away. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, get me there. Like I'm so
Right.
ready. And I said it the other day, that first weekend, that Saturday and Sunday, when you have the 4 games each day, then you've got it the next weekend too. Just two incredible weekends if you love basketball, because you could just be so locked into watching, like everything is just great.
All right, let's jump over to this. Anthony Davis, my gosh. Keith, we're going through it right now. Lakers fans are. We are going through it. They're 0-5 since the All-Star break against their direct playoff competitors. Every time they say we have a big game, they lose. And then it felt like Lakers Warriors essentially ended in the first quarter when Anthony Davis gets hit in the eye. He has a corneal abrasion. His eye swells shut. He can't play the rest of the game. So we're keeping an eye on this to see if he is going to be a go tonight against the Atlanta Hawks or not. Sounds like he has improved a bit, but this was actually a rarity for Anthony Davis this season in terms of getting injured. He's actually been remarkably healthy on the season, but unfortunately does get hit in the eye. And there was that eye swelled up. It looked like he was a MMA fighter or something like that. So hopefully he's a go. I've never had a corneal abrasion before. I've never had a scratched eyeball, but I would imagine it's not fun to deal with.
Yeah, you gotta wonder, are we gonna get him out there in goggles or
Yes.
some kind
Yeah.
of mask or something like that? Like that could be a thing here. And a lot of times with this stuff, I remember as various players have gone through, one of the big things is, can they handle the lighting in the
Yeah.
arena? Is that causing them issues with the way they see? And some of the guys, if they have to wear goggles or a mask, they just can't do it. Like they can't adjust to it. I tweeted in the game, the Lakers are they're like an average defense with AD. When you take him out, God, they have no chance. Like just no
No.
chance.
They
They
had no
just
way
don't.
to get any kind of
Yeah,
stops.
you just don't have enough bigs that can do anything. It's
No.
that's they're how do I put this? They're better balanced now than they were like a year ago, ahead of the trade deadline, ahead of the Westbrook trade, which
Sure.
brought them a lot of their depth and balance, because they did what we said, which was break Westbrook's contract up into 2-3 guys.
Mm-hmm.
But this is still showing it's really, really hard when you're carrying 2 guys with the monster salaries. It's hard for any team. And the one thing that I kept saying was, I was like, I'm just nervous with the Lakers because we haven't had a LeBron extended absence or an AD absence yet. And with some guys, you kind of bake it in, right? Because it's like it happens every year. So I should
Yeah.
probably bake in that they're going to go down for somewhere between 2 and 3 weeks. It's the same thing with the Suns. The Suns are
Yeah.
where they are, and KD has not missed time really. He's missed a game here and there, but like has not missed a lot of time. So that becomes a worrisome factor there too. And there was a play for the Suns a couple weeks ago where somebody fell into his leg and he kind of hopped back, and
Right.
he was thankfully fine. But it's like, man, if something like that happens, and now we're at the point in the year, it happens now, that's really bad, because you're probably not going to be fully ready to go by the start of the playoffs. So that's the one thing I'm a little worried for, is they, just kind of have to keep battling. And I wonder at some point, if you're the Lakers, like with this thing with AD, you're not getting out of the play-in tournament. Very,
No.
very unlikely, right? Maybe there's an outside chance. But do you just kind of say, hey, now what we have to kind of focus on is, and this is different because this isn't a muscle injury. This is going to be when he's ready, he's ready.
Right.
But it is, do you be really, really careful and say, hey, it's just more important that we're at the best shape we can be in when the play-in tournament starts, because that's our best path now. We're not catching these teams to, get up to 6 or any of those kind of things.
I think now their best case is to somehow get out, and it probably would require Phoenix to keep falling. They
Yeah,
need to get out of the 9-10 matchup and get into the 7-8. I think part of it too is, I think the Suns, obviously they dealt with Devin Booker injuries, Bradley Beal injuries. LeBron and AD have been injured, but last I saw, and this was a few days ago, the Lakers have missed the second most games in the NBA this season due to injuries. It's everybody else has been hurt. Like right now, all of the non-Anthony Davis defenders are all out. It's Cam Reddish. Gabe
sure.
Benson's been out all season. Of course, the big one, Jared Vanderbilt. All their other guys that could contribute on that on the floor, they're all on the sideline right now. So that's been a big issue for them this season. And you're right, their defense, it's been awful since the All-Star break. They can't get stops, so they need Anthony Davis out there. So that's going to be something that we definitely are going to be watching here. Can AD get back onto the court? Maybe he comes back tonight, but again, like you said, Keith, it's the kind of thing where when he's ready, he's ready. And while we've heard some good news that he's gotten better, those arena lights, that's something that could create a problem for him here tonight.
Yeah, for sure. And let's just pause because I think the team that's like at the top of those man games missed is the Grizzlies, which is
Yes.
funny. I know you do radio in the Memphis area pretty
Yep.
regularly, as do I. And I'm like, anytime I talk about injuries, I always counter it with, and I know you guys don't want to hear about it in Memphis because it's, your whole season has been nothing but, guys hurt and all this stuff. Good news
Yeah.
for them. Desmond Bane is back. He played over the
Hmm.
weekend and played pretty well. And it's funny, I saw a lot of why. What's the point? And the point is, what you're going to get with Desmond Bane on the floor is just a look at a handful of other guys with better talent around him and see what does it look like. Is this guy putting up the numbers he's putting up because he's in this, hey, go out and do whatever you want because it doesn't matter,
Hmm.
offense anyway? Now, what do you look like when you are really playing a complementary role to a
Yeah.
guy who is one of our main players? Where do we go with this? And you just get it's all data points at this point for those teams. And if you can play Desmond Bane 7, 8, 9, 10 games down the stretch here, and he's good. The other thing is too, it puts him in a good place to be ready to go for the off season and whatever comes beyond that. So that's why those things are important. And it's I always find it funny. We can't scream and yell about load management and these guys should play if they're healthy enough to play, and then be like, well, the team stinks, so who cares? Well, it applies the same way. It's
Right.
I get it. Now if Desmond Bane wakes up tomorrow and is like, yeah, my foot's feeling, nope, you're out.
Yeah.
Then there's no
Correct.
reason. Where if
You
like
don't take the
Anthony
risk.
Davis wakes up tomorrow and he's like, yeah, I think I could probably go. All right, let's try it. Let's try. Right. Like that's a completely different
Mhm.
circumstance. Like everybody's you just have to context matters with all this stuff. And if there's something to play for, you probably push a little harder. If there isn't, then you don't bother.
Sure. Yeah, exactly. And that's the way teams are going to look at this. And Brandon Clark, by the way, should also be coming back
Yeah.
for Memphis relatively
Yeah.
soon. So,
Sometime in the next couple of weeks, it looks like.
yep. So that'll be good for him just to get his confidence that he can be out there on the floor and all of that. That's going to be important for them next season. Another return, Chris Middleton, returning to the Bucks. Now, Middleton obviously is not the same guy that he was like 3-4 years ago, but still, this is a positive for a Milwaukee team that needs to reintegrate Chris Middleton, get him into the fold, and get ready for the postseason. That's going to be, I mean, they are one of the teams in the East to certainly keep an eye on that can hit another level. Right now, it seems like they're starting to really settle into that 2 seed at the moment. They do have a bit of a lead here, game and a half lead over the Cleveland Cavaliers for the 2 seed in the East. So if they're able to truly seize control, this will be really good. And the Cavs are 4-6 in their last 10, so that's got to help. They've faded away a bit, but if the Bucks can really seize control of the 2 seed, you get Middleton back, they can be a dangerous team in the postseason.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, the Bucks have been just a very up and down team all season long,
Mhm.
and we've talked it all ad nauseum. But they need their guys. They just don't have the depth to go without one of their key guys. And in Chris Middleton yesterday, the most important thing I thought, he looked healthy. Like he was
Mhm.
moving well, he was getting good lift on his jump shot. He was really doing good stuff. So that was really important here, I think, for him. So I think what happens with Chris Middleton is now it's because Giannis didn't play yesterday. He was ruled out very late, almost like right before the game, with a hamstring issue. So now it's going to be, let's get them all back on the floor and really see what it looks like, because the Bucks are still, they have never fully gelled, and definitely haven't under Doc Rivers, because by the time Doc got there, guys were in and out of the lineup. So it's going to be really
Hmm.
important for them to get those guys back. But big win yesterday against Phoenix. Phoenix's defense just stinks, like just
Disgusting.
absolutely terrible.
Well,
And
they did the
Milwaukee,
same thing the Lakers did to Frank Vogel,
mhm,
didn't they? They took a guy who was, I believe, a very good defensive head coach, and they gave him a team essentially full of non-defenders. Like that,
yep,
it doesn't. You gotta give him some guys to work with. And Phoenix is very limited in terms of what they could do, the moves they could make, and all of that. But it's not a surprise to me that they're
no,
struggling on the defensive end of the floor, given the personnel of the team. You kind of knew that was going to be a thing coming into the season.
yeah. And I'll say this: if you and I are fortunate enough in 2 years to still be doing this, and I don't know any reason why we wouldn't be, we're going to be having the conversation of, hey, the Suns got to really break that Bradley Beal contract up into 2, 3 contracts,
Yeah.
like we did with the Russell Westbrook conversation, because you can't. It's my big thing is, you can make big threes work if the big threes can really complement each other. If
Hmm.
they are really three guys who just can fit together, they don't take anything off the table. But these guys are, they're and they're okay. I mean, when their offense is going, like, it's really, really hard to beat them. But you just have too many overlapping skill sets. You don't have defenders. You don't have a Nurkic has been fine in general, but he's somebody I think teams are they're just gonna put in a pick and roll a million times in the playoffs,
Hmm.
and they're gonna have a hard time defending it, and it's gonna be tough. And KD is a guy who people forget because he is so great. I think he's like right on the verge, like in the next game, should move into ninth place all time on the NBA's all time scoring list, which is just, I mean, that's when it starts to be like mind boggling
Yeah.
stuff of, the all time greatness. But KD was a all defense level guy at times in his career, early in his career with the, late in the Thunder run and early Warriors run, and now he's just not that guy anymore. He can still do it on possession here and there, but he just doesn't have it regularly like that. He's fine, but he's not a good defender. Beal is not a good defender at all. Nurkic isn't a good defender. I think Grayson Allen's a better defender than he gets credit for. But then you go to the bench and it's like, where are we going here? Josh Okogie, okay. Drew
Yeah.
Eubanks, all right. Like, these guys are all okay, but no, none of these guys are going to play enough for it to really matter. So it just, yeah, it's, you don't have complementary skill sets, and that's something I think a lot about with team building is, if you're gonna go that route, your big three stars, one of them has to slide into the role of, all right, I'm number three, and I'm going to do some of the dirty work, the defense, the rebounding, and that's why I don't know if it works when it's three perimeter, high usage ball handler, scorer type guys. Like, that just turns into, there's just too much there for me.
Yeah. So this is one of the things that I'm looking at here, though, is they were actually Phoenix was actually 13th in defensive rating so far on the season. Um, but since the All-Star break, they've dropped to 23, and I know their
Yeah,
schedule's gotten a lot more difficult. I think who they're playing had a lot to do with them being that high earlier on in the season. But when we talk about that Bradley Beal contract, if they do have to split that up, that's when we're going to start talking about the no trade clause again, which is going to come back into it because it didn't go away. That's going to come back into play again for Phoenix. But again, they were. I think it was a little bit of an illusion how they were performing defensively earlier in the year because they had a lighter schedule. Now they've got one of, if not the most difficult schedules remaining in the NBA, and that is pushing them down. And now I think we're getting a better sense of kind of what their weakness is going to be come playoff time.
yeah. I always say with the NBA schedule, at least by conference, they're all roughly the same. You get a couple, one team you're only going to play 3 times, one team you're only going to play 4 times. And I know the in season tournament has, jumbled that up a little bit, but it's, it's mostly every schedule is pretty much the same. What's not the same is when you play teams. And that's what the Suns are going through. They played a bunch of teams early that were not very good. They had a bunch of games against teams that were missing guys early on and those kind of things. And they didn't take advantage, because now, as they were kind of muddling along, is they're fine. They're a good team. They're not great, but they're good.
Mhm.
They were just kind of going along. And now you hit this rougher patch. And I believe they think you said this, but I believe they have the hardest schedule the rest of the way, or it's right up there. Like, they
Yeah, I'll check
are,
right now.
man, it is like, it is. it's just going to be tough for them to make up much ground. I'm starting to really feel like they may be in the play-in tournament, and maybe that's where they should have been all along.
Yeah, they are right now. They have the second most difficult schedule remaining, according to Tankathon, and they are currently sitting at 8th in the standings right now. There is a 3-game gap between them and then the Lakers and the Warriors, who are knotted at 11.5 games back. The Suns and the Mavs are knotted at 8.5 games back, with the Sacramento Kings as well. So 3-way tie there in terms of games back. But Phoenix does seem to be, because of that difficult strength of schedule. The Mavericks, the Warriors have super light schedules. So Phoenix does seem to be the team that is probably the most vulnerable to potentially drop here, and they're going to be one to keep an eye on. But they did just add another player.
Yeah,
somebody's going to help them on the defensive end, but still fun. Isaiah Thomas joins the Suns. Keith, we talked about it. It had to be a week ago, maybe, about how he was going to light it up in the G League. Sure enough, he lit it up in the G League, and the Suns went, "You're too good for the G League. Come on back, and we'll take you on."
Yeah, and it was funny because throughout that Bucks game, I had people like, "Why is IT not playing? He hasn't signed yet." I think that's probably going to happen today or tomorrow for him. I don't know why he wasn't signed before the game Sunday, but he wasn't. But Frank Vogel already spoke about it. He basically said, "Hey, look, Saban Lee has been our backup point guard. I think he's down to 2 days left on his 2-way contract. And he's like, we don't want him even on the active roster if he's not definitely going to play. So we're trying to save those days. So we're going to get IT in, which that tells me there's a chance he's going to come in and actually play. This may not just be one of those, hey, it's great to have you at the end of the bench, hang out for, a little bit here. So we'll see. But I mean, you're right. He absolutely tore it up in the G League, hit a bunch of 3-pointers, looked good, looked quick, fast, explosive. So hopefully this works out and this turns into a rest of the season deal. And then we'll see where that goes into the summertime and beyond.
Yeah, that'd be great, certainly for him. And I know this question has to be asked, but he was not on a roster previously, so he is playoff eligible then for the Phoenix Suns.
Okay. Yep. And even when his 10-day contract ends, a 10-day contract ends, a player is not waived, so he will be eligible even when that ends, if it's like he decides to go join another team or something like that, or just stay with the Suns. Yeah, it's just had to be waived by March 1st. So we're good and clear there. The only guy who it's really come up with is Otto Porter Jr., and we now know he was waived because he's retiring.
Right. Exactly. All right. Marcus Morris joins the Cleveland Cavaliers on a 10-day contract. A little bit surprised that it's just a 10-day and not a rest of the season deal, but he joins the Cavs, who are looking to stabilize things a bit. Should I be surprised that it's only a 10-day for Marcus Morris?
Maybe a little bit. I think this is probably one for him and the Cavs. Let's try it out of sorts. Let's see what it looks like. I'm a little more concerned that this may be leaning towards Evan Mobley and Dean Wade could be out a little bit longer than expected. And if that's the case, that's not great for Cleveland. Right now, they're getting by with George Niang playing more minutes than he usually does. Tristan Thompson just came back from his suspension over the weekend, so he's back in the fold now. But they don't have a lot at the forward spot. At the moment, it's Niang and then a bunch of guys kind of masquerading because all the rest of their healthy bigs are their centers. It's Jared Allen, it's Damian Jones, it's Tristan Thompson. None of those guys are really playing the floor. So, and they had to get by some minutes in their last game with Thompson playing the floor, and it went about probably how you expect at this point in Tristan Thompson's career would go. So, bringing Morris in, see what it looks like, see if he's healthy and ready to go. I think he could help. So this might be one of those where we do 1 10-day and then he's signed for the rest of the year, and off we run for the rest of the season. That just happened with I'm drawing a blank. Over the weekend, the guy signed for the rest of the year. It was come to me, Taj Gibson. Taj Gibson did
with the Pistons
for the rest.
We talked about that on Saturday
with Marcus Morris. Yeah, this is a chance for the Cavs. Just let's see him up close and really get to see what it looks like. But they could use some additional forward help right now while Mobley and Wade are out.
All right, and lastly, Josh Green is going to be out for a few weeks due to a sprained ankle, and so the Mavs will be missing him perhaps down the home stretch here. of the season. Hopefully he'll be back and at 100% by playoff time. But the Mavs are in the thick of it, in the thick of this race here. They were hoping to get out of the play-in, currently sitting in the 7th seed, but they're right there with Sacramento. So not ideal to be missing Josh Green here. But I think the Mavs, obviously, if you've got Kyrie hitting game winners like that, they're still going to be a threat to move up.
Yeah, and Josh Green, the big thing he gives them is he's a ideal 3-and-D wing, which you need when you have Luka and Kyrie dominating the ball the way they do. And that's not a criticism. They should. They should have the ball like that. You need guys like Josh Green who are going to play defense and knock down jumpers when it comes his way. And Josh Green's career, man, rookie season was really kind of It looked like that was a blown pick. Started to come on his second year. Last year was really, really solid. And then this year it's been kind of fits and starts for him. He's kind of every time he gets going, he picks up an injury and then he's kind of out for a little bit. So hopefully he can get healthy. I think Jason Kidd said this is going to be at least a couple weeks for him, and then we'll see where it goes from there. But the important player for Dallas because you just want to have one more wing defenders are so important in the playoffs, especially when you get into these teams that are going to go mismatch hunting and everything else. So let's hope he's ready to go here in a couple weeks, and then that gives them week and a half to be ready to really ramp up, and then we're right into it with the play-in tournament and the playoffs.
And off we go. We're almost here. All right, Keith, I think that's going to wrap things up for today's show. Everybody, make sure you do subscribe to the NBA Front Office Show on YouTube. Don't forget to turn on those notifications as well. Go check out the Basketball Bulletin. I'll drop the link to that down below in addition. And then we'll be back tomorrow with all the latest going on around the league. And we'll probably be watching a lot of basketball this week. So this is awesome. I can't wait. Keith, thanks again. Great. Always a blast talking NBA basketball with you.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I'm super excited. It's going to be a fun week.
All right, everybody. Till next time, we'll see you and stay safe.